Hello everyone, my name is Maria Thomas and I work for Allianz Research, the global team of economists, strategists, sector advisors and foresight experts of the Allianz Group, led by Ludovic Subran. Welcome to Tomorrow, a podcast where we'll be talking about our latest analyses of economic and capital market developments, as well as our views on trends affecting risk management. Let's get started. With the workforce population set to decline and workers getting older, how can we make companies demography-proof? We find out in this episode with Arne Holzhausen, Head of Insurance, Wealth and ESG Research, and Senior Economist Michaela Grimm. Hello, Arne and Michaela. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Maria.
Hello, Maria. So in your report, you explain that the workforce of the future is likely to be much more multi-generational and multicultural than ever before. Why is that?
Well, the workforce is going to be more multi-generational and more multicultural than today due to demographic change, increases in retirement age, and a greater share of people with migration background in younger ages, as well as the efforts to attract skilled labor from abroad. So, first of all, we need to distinguish between the working age population and the population that is active in the labor market. In general, the working age population today is defined as those aged between 15 and 64. In the European Union, for example, around 287 million people belong to this age group in 2023. But only 75% of them, that's about 260 million people, were actually active in the labor market. And there are also market differences in the activity rates between the age groups. While of those aged between 25 and 59, almost 90% were active in the labor market, it were merely 53% in the age group 60 to 64. This means that half of those aged to 64 in the European Union have already dropped out of the labor market, either because they could not find a new job after becoming unemployed, because they are, for example, taking care of a family member, or they could retire early. So if we look on the population that is active on the labor market as a whole in 2023, only 9% of the 15 to 64-year-olds who were active in the labor market were 60 and older. That is half the share of the age group in the total population aged between 50 and 64, which was 18%. So this is going to change in the future, not only because the age structure of the total population in working age is going to shift, due to the declining numbers of young people entering the labor market, but also because older workers will be active on the labor market for longer, due to further increases in retirement age, reduced options for early retirement, and incentives to postpone retirement. How much the pension system affects the labor force participation in higher ages is reflected in the differences in the activity rates in the age group 60 plus within the European Union already today. In 2023, the activity rates in the age group 60 to 64 range between 73% in Sweden and 23% in Luxembourg. And in the age group 65 to 69, it ranged between 38% in Estonia and 5% in Romania. On the average EU, it was 16%. So, if we assume that until 2040, the average year activity rates in all age groups are going to rise to the highest levels observed in single member states in respective age groups today. That is 73% in the case of the 60 to 64-year-olds and 38% in the case of 65 to 69-year-olds. Then the age group 60 to 69 would account for 14% in the working age population that is active on the labor market. By comparison, the age groups in the total share in the total population aged between 15 and 69 is set to increase to 21%. So there will be still a difference. But as you said, they will not be only more multi-generational. Workforces will also become more multicultural. That is not only because governments and companies intend to attract more foreign skilled workers, but also because already today's working age population that is active on the labor market, there the younger age groups are much more multicultural than the older ones. And while the share of foreigners in the age group of 40 to 64 was on average 8.3%, it was already 13% in the age group 30 to 34. So with the higher age groups set to retire, more multi-general age groups will succeed them. So that's basically why we will see the shift in the working age population and the workforces.
Okay, and what will that mean for companies?
Basically, it's not really a new challenge because even in the past, there was more than one generation within the company or more than one culture within one company, at least the big ones. What has changed, as Michaela explained, is that we now have a different economic setup. We have a different framework conditions. It's no longer possible for companies just to lose their old talents, their older employees, or even send them in early retirement and replace them with young graduates for a simple reason, because there are not so many young graduates. The pool of young graduates is shrinking and is shrinking by the day. So that means it's much more efficient, cost efficient to keep your talent on board, to keep your older employees than to replace them with new rehires, because this is quite time consuming and is also very costly to find new talent on the market. But this is for sure, it's not only about keeping your old talent on board, but it's making sure that it's as productive as ever, or it gets even more productive. And this is a trick. This is a real challenge to do. And this is for sure something where we see the teams, these multi-generational teams, play a very important role, because in the end, if you talk about productivity, we talk about efficiency, it's not so much about your technical skill set. It's more about cooperation, processes, how you share knowledge, how you help each other. This is decisive. And that means that it's so important to have these teams at the core of your company, and that these teams work together and function. And that means you have to do a lot of efforts, because they are with multi-generational, multicultural teams. There are different expectations. There are different values and attitudes. There are different expectations, for example, about leadership styles, about communication styles. So you have to find this common ground to make this team functioning, so that everybody stays not only on board, but remains productive. And it goes without saying that technology, and especially AI can play a very important role here. Because the promise of AI is not so much that we replace employees or workers by fancy gadgets, but that we augment their skills, that we can with AI make employees more productive. And this is an important step forward, because all the studies, all the literature shows that that the AI is most beneficial to these workers that are not the top performers. That is really about leveling the playing field regarding to productivity. And this is an important step forward, to have this kind of cooperative stance, because then you have mutual respect. Then everybody knows that everybody in the team has almost an equal contribution to the success of the company. And if you have this understanding and this mutual respect, then it's much easier to share, to work together, to help each other, because you have this sense of belonging and you feel that you're really in that together. And this is why I think, or we think, that AI will have really a tremendous impact on how teams work, how teams functions, and how they can be innovative.
So can you give us some examples of how this could work?
Well, this starts with combating ageism. Especially older workers are often faced with negative stereotypes, like they are less productive, less motivated, less flexible and adaptable to change, and harder to train than younger workers. However, if we look at surveys among HR professionals and studies, it turns out that these are merely prejudices. I just would like to quote a survey of the Australian HR Institute, for example, according to which 69% of the Australian HR professionals saw no differences between older and younger workers with respect to job performance. And in fact, almost a third of them ranked the job performance of older workers even higher than that of youngers. More than 50% of them saw no differences between young and older workers with respect to ability to adapt to change, or with respect to levels of energy and creativity. And on top, almost 70% that the older workers are better able to cope with stress than the younger ones. Studies and literature reviews confirm these findings, and they show that there's no proof of marked differences in the productivity of older and younger workers per se. And the results indicate that experience can offset physical and cognitive decline in more demanding tasks. Well, however, there are differences between sectors. These findings certainly don't apply, or they apply only to a limited extent when it comes to physically demanding work. However, There is one thing we should point out, that not only youngest, but also older, but also younger workers can be confronted with ageism. One example is the case that young people who would like to start a vocational training in the mid-20s, perhaps after dropping out of university or having already finished another vocational training, even they can be faced with the prejudice that they are too old to fit into regular approved vocational trainees, and they are too be difficult to train. Second point is the need to adapt workplaces to the needs of an aging workforce. It gains in importance, and this does not only help to increase the productivity of older workers, but also benefits the younger ones and makes the company more attractive. Measures include, for example, designing them ergonomically, or simple measures like installing brighter lighting or reducing noise. And that's more difficult, they also include changing work routines, rearranging workflows, working hours and shifts, and offering more flexible working hours and remote work. Coming to the latter, by the way, younger workers and women, they also prefer to have more flexibility and part-time work, for example, than the older ones. So that's why those companies are often more attractive even for younger workers. Another point which you often see is self-management offers. They can be indeed important to shift the onset of age-related diseases in higher ages and to keep the workforce healthier for longer. These can range from offering healthy snacks and vouchers for fitness studios to offering regular health checks by company doctors and a full range in-house fitness studio, including free training sessions. It depends on the company size. However, one remark at this point, it should not be forgotten that aging is an individual process. Everyone ages differently, and with increasing age, the performance gap within an age group widens. Simply put, the share of those aged 35 who could complete a triathlon is certainly higher than the percentage of the 62-year-olds who could rappel down the Stade de France like Tom Cruise did at the end of the Olympics. So, last but not least, age-inclusive management that not only focuses on attracting young talent, but also on retaining experienced employees for longer is becoming really important. That's what I already mentioned. Because with the knowledge today being available and accessible for anybody with a computer or mobile phone on a fingertip, knowledge of doing how to do things and experience become a company's unique selling point and competitive advantage. This makes the tacit knowledge of the older so-called wisdom workers who can contribute their experience and peripheral view more and more valuable. This holds not only true with respect to the development of new technologies, but also and especially with respect to new products, because they understand the needs of their peers, who make up an increasing share of the customers, much better than their younger colleagues. And age-inclusive management is also becoming increasingly important for attracting and maintaining young talent, because in surveys, millennials and Gen Zs said to choose employers by their offers for learning and personal development. So it might paradoxically be the younger workers who are crucial for improving the career and development opportunities for the older ones, since companies need to offer long-term career perspective if they want to retain young talent. And however, expanding these career and development opportunities for all age groups also means that learning and qualification offers must be adapted to the different needs of the different age groups. Older workers, for example, prefer time-flexible, shorter and self-paced learning offers, and if learning in groups, they prefer to learn with peers of the same age. Furthermore, they profit from learning content and methods that can immediately be implemented, which also explains the high productivity of successfully managed age-diverse teams. So, last but not least, this offering development and perspective and career opportunities to older workers would also increase their reputation and standing in the company, and they would enhance their perception of being valued employees, like we already mentioned before, and feeling valued as well as the prospect of development opportunities even at advanced age could also increase their motivation to postpone early retirement. So in short, age-diverse management and bringing together knowledge and wisdom are becoming increasingly important to attract and retain young and older talent, and for the long-term success of the companies.
And so what would you say is at stake if companies don't get this right?
Yeah, in a word, if you get it right, you have a very productive workforce. And if you don't get it right, then your workforce will be lagging behind your competitors. But for sure, it's easier said than done. Look around. I mean, things have changed, in particular since the pandemic. We have much more work-related stress. We have mental health issues, burnouts. All the things are increasing and quite dramatically in the last couple of years. So But this means that the age-friendly company is not about to create a comfort zone for elderly employees, but it's about to combining these well-being and productivity, well-being and efficiency. And this is for sure requires hard work. This requires continuous efforts to find this common ground, to build the teams, to work together. And this is something that has to be at the heart. It's a core of management task in the future. And I already mentioned the important role of technology. AI plays in this process. I would like to add some other ingredients, 3 ingredients you need for that. This is learning, learning, and learning. Because we're pretty sure that in the future, employees will spend much more time in learning, not only because of the technological change, but also because there is social skills gain in importance. And this has to learned, and this requires a lot of effort from both sides, from the company side as well as from the employee side. So bottom line, team building, workforce management becomes ever more strategic. And it's probably one of the main decisive factors between a successful company and a failing company. So management ignores it at its own peril.
Okay, thank you very much, Arne and Michaela.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find the full report we just spoke about on our website. We'll leave a link in the show notes. If you'd like to discover more of our research, you can also follow the Ludonomics newsletter on LinkedIn. We'll leave a link down below for that too. If you like the podcast, please send it to any of your friends who might like it too, and leave us a rating and a review. We'd love to hear your feedback. In the meantime, stay tuned for the next episode.